Okay, welcome everyone to WOO MOMMAS PODCAST. I'm Colleen Carlson here with Gina Polly, and we have a wonderful guest on tonight. We're very excited to have her, and I'll let Gina do the introduction.
Yes, we are introducing Stacey. Stacey is a Pittsford resident, so I'm here in Pittsford too, and I kind of put something out there. I thought it would be fun. Remember, Colleen, I said, wouldn't it be fun for October to do some like Halloweenish type of stuff, like the real woo-woo stuff? We've been doing some heavy stuff lately, so I think that this is going to lighten it up and it's bring us a really cool story. But Stacey lives here in Pittsford, and she lives in a house that is haunted. And we want to hear all about it. So Stacey, welcome. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So I'm going to hand it over to you and tell us about, when you moved in there. And I also am curious if you knew prior to moving in that there was spiritual activity in the house.
So when I moved, I moved twice in Pittsburgh, and the first time I was in a house that was built late 70s, and it's just not my style. I like old houses, I love old places, I love the architecture of them. So this house, I had been stalking it for like 2 years, basically, because it had gorgeous bones. It's brick. It looks old, and it is old. It was built around 1867. So I fell in love instantly. And of course, when I was here checking it out before I actually bought it, I felt like it did have something going on. There was a life to it, and it was a positive feeling overall. So it wasn't anything that made me not want to make an offer. And so when I moved in, I had to do some pretty extensive renovations. I had to update the bathrooms. I had to just get everything like cleaned up. And I know that, in just learning about places that are haunted, sometimes when you do renovations, that stirs up the energy even more.
Yeah, it's a trigger.
Yes, exactly. But whenever I would feel, I'm very sensitive to just energy, electricity around me. I can feel the phone ring before it rings, like just little things like that I physically affect me. So I did feel when we moved in officially that there was something, but it was appreciative of kind of the care that we were putting into the home. And so there have been specific instances where things would fall for no reason. I had a friend tell me that they felt, as they were going up the stairs, they felt the back of their pocket was tugged. They told me this like later that evening. They were like, by the way, is this house haunted? And I hadn't shared, anything like, oh yeah, it's haunted. But that was the information that they shared with me. So I thought that was interesting. And then there are just some times where I catch something that, just catches the corner of my eye. My dog will not go in certain areas of the house.
Wow.
And what are some other things? Was living here for a while, and then actually a woman that grew up in the house made friends with me on Instagram. We became friends, and she reached out. She said, you're in the house that I grew up in. I'm so happy you're in it. I love what you're doing. And then she sent me all of this researched information from her dad, who, he restored a lot of the home as well when they were living here in the 80s. And one of the articles was about the original owners of the house. And the owners, the wife passed away in the house in like the 1890s. And so we learned her name was Anne. So I like to think that it's Anne who is, hanging out, checking up on me from time to time, but also is just very happy that a family is here and taking good care of her home.
That's really neat.
I love how you're so sensitive. I mean, we didn't know this when
I know.
That she herself was woo-woo as well.
Very much so. Very much
we
so.
attract each other.
Yes. It's good that you reached out and that we found each other. Definitely.
Absolutely.
So do your other family members, do they sense the too? So what has happened for them?
It's mostly they hear footsteps when all of us are downstairs, or they like things fall off the wall, so it's little, like, I would say those are harmless things. And I just remind them, I said, you know what, they want to remind us that they're still here. So it's just a positive thing, like, hey, we're still here.
Yeah. Wow. And honestly, because you are so sensitive, if it wasn't positive, you would know that. And it's a huge consolation when you can understand that, it might make you feel, especially kids, it might give you a sense of uneasiness a little bit.
Yes.
But uneasiness is very different than, scared. So.
Correct. And I feel that, so I've always been sensitive. I would see things when I was very little and had no explanation. I thought in one of my first apartments that I lived in with my family, I thought an uncle was walking past the hallway and there was no one there. So I didn't really know what that meant. And then, but later on, I understood more that I have that ability. So it's not, I don't go looking for it, but I know that if it finds me, that it's not necessarily going to be harmful. I will say that there was an apartment in college that I lived in with a roommate, and we observed things moving in front of us. And that was a very negative presence. It was so terrible. I don't know what happened to them, but I think it was violent, because it was always a very, very angry and wishing to be harmful presence in that apartment. Yeah. It was never comfortable to be there alone.
That's not fun. Yeah. That's not fun. So you know what? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kelly.
We do that all the time. So we get so excited. We have like all these questions. So what I've come to know, and I'm not an expert in haunted houses by any stretch, but what I've come to know, because in my sessions with clients, sometimes people who have passed will come into the session. And what I've gleaned from that, and then other reading things and listening to other people who are, way more knowledgeable than I am, is that when there is that angry presence, that we can actually help them. They're kind of stuck, and we can actually help them to, of course, you were in college and you weren't thinking about
I had no idea.
but if you feel this with Anne, which it doesn't seem like she's stuck. It feels like she's choosing, right, to be with you guys. I love, and I just got the chills. So I know that's true. So
I got the chills too.
Yeah. So she's choosing to be with you, which I love. And like, I feel her kindness, I think, is what I feel.
Yeah.
And so she may feel safe, like with a family there and stuff. But I know that when there's like violent or anger or disturbance, like they're stuck, from what I understand. And so you can actually say, we can release you, you can actually pray sort of a release for them to, it's okay to go, it's okay. You'll be okay on the other side. It's okay to go. We had something here living with us when we bought our house too. It was benevolent. But but we would hear it through the radio. And like the computer, radio, the telephone, they're all portals, right?
Yes, yes.
And so we would hear it, it would talk to us through the radio that was not on. You know, this is when we had a radio. And
Right.
because we've been here for 25 years. And so it's interesting. Do you have any communication besides the physical things or just the sensation? Do you hear anything like through when you have the phone on or your computer on or a radio or anything like that?
Not in this house. I've had those experiences before where I've heard a voice, and my oldest, she was probably 4 at the time, but we were in her grandfather's house, and the grandmother had just passed, and we heard her name, and we both heard it, and clearly, so that was an experience that, yeah, we shared.
Yeah. And that was just in the room, or was there some?
Yeah, just in the room. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing that I'm picking up, you have basically lived in 3 different places that were haunted.
Oh no, there's more.
Oh, there's more. Okay. So I guess my question, and maybe Colleen, you might be able to help with this, if there's something about her that is attracting this stuff, because usually, you know, you might live somewhere, an apartment, a house, and it's like your experience, but like she's kind of indicating she's had several experiences. So what are your thoughts on that, Colleen? Or maybe you have something to add. I don't know.
The first thing that comes to mind, even when we were talking before we started recording, was that you're so kind and you're so open. And so I think that is sort of the avenue that a lot of spiritual sensations and so forth can happen. That's just right out of the gate. That's what I think. Yeah. So why do you think it is, Stacey?
Thank you. No, that's very sweet of you to say. I don't know that I've had some, you know, tragic loss of loved ones in my life. I wouldn't be surprised I do have dreams of them, so they communicate more clearly during dream time, not so much in presence. But I take those to be real, you know, I take those to be real communications. I think I just like living in old houses, and so the you know, the probability that someone has passed or that there's an energy there is just more common in that sense.
Yeah, that's neat. I remember, so the house I grew up in, I mean, back then I think it was like over 100 years old, and I remember I used to wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, and I would be wide awake because I still remember the night that I went to the top of my stairs to try to figure out what it was that I was hearing. But I used to hear, like, it sounded like a party downstairs. Like it would sound like a party. And even though I can hear it in my mind, what it sounds like. And it never sounded like people directly in there. It was almost like the sound was from another place. You guys would probably understand that. I don't know if the people listening can understand that, but I heard it, and it was a very joyous, sounded like a party. But then I would hear the chairs in my kitchen move, like somebody was getting up from a seat, because the chairs made a very distinct sound, like if you would move them. It was almost like a, you know, how a wooden chair sounds like on a floor. And I would frequently hear that. And there was one night, and obviously it didn't scare me. I was young, okay? And there were times I would lay in bed and I would be like, oh my God, like, are mom and dad up? But I knew it was like in the middle of the night, and I knew that they were asleep in their room. And this one night I got up and I checked, they were in their room. And I went to the top of the stairs, and it just like, I could hear it as I was walking there, but then it all disappeared. And Yeah, I went back to bed and, you know, it's weird because when you're young, you think something like that would scare you, but it's not a bad energy. And I didn't live in what I would consider a haunted house. It was just old. I've had a couple experiences in there.
Mhm.
But it kind of gave me that weird feeling of, oh, there's something else going on here,
Right.
and you're just like laying in the covers waiting for the sun to come up.
Yeah.
So,
Been there.
yeah.
So, but overall, like where you're living now, there you don't feel afraid. You're not nervous about it at all. Yeah.
No, no, it's overwhelmingly positive. And I will, I will say though, I, something's in the basement and I try not to go down there.
Mm.
It's not in.
Oh, oh my God.
Have you ever tried to clear it with sage or have somebody come over try to clear it with sage?
I saged the house, but I don't like the basement and not like I just don't want to go down there. I usually try to call people and then my phone cuts out because there's no signal down there. So yeah, but it's okay because it kind of stays there. So
yeah. It's a good place for it.
It's fine. I'm never gonna refinish the basement. It's okay.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Is it sort of its organic state, the basement? Like
The front of the house is, but the previous owner was an artist and they had like a kiln and a wood shop and everything down there. So it's, it's totally usable. But yeah, just the energy. Don't care
Isn't
for
that funny? And like, so you have to wonder, how did the previous owner feel when they were down there?
Yeah, that's where I feel like
they're okay if they had their equipment down there.
I think the saying ignorance is bliss. When people don't have that, they're not tuned in to energy like that, it just doesn't bother them at all,
Yeah.
And it doesn't really make itself known, it doesn't seem either.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point. So it's just a feeling that you're having. Yeah.
Or
maybe Anne is there to protect you from whatever is down there. Make you feel at peace.
I like Anne. I mean, I think like maybe you were her or something. Could that be a possibility? I mean,
I think I was in Europe then, but
okay. All right. Have you done past life stuff?
No, but I attribute my fear of sharp knives and fear of deep water to past events, whatever they may be.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So I probably didn't make it on a boat. And I could have it could have, just as well been a part of the French Revolution. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever caught anything on camera? Like, you take pictures around your house. Is there anything that you've caught on camera?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've heard from others that there's actually a lot of haunted houses in Pittsford, like a good amount.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, we do have like a lot of older homes here.
Yeah.
Yes. But even
in the village specifically.
Yes.
Yeah, that was part of my lament when I was looking for the first house, was that we weren't looking in the village specifically because the taxes were so insane. But that was the type of house I wanted to be in, and they're all, just beautiful, and most of them are quaint, and I would imagine that there's just a lot of energy from the original settlements that were here and the canal production and just the water and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of history. And I do know somebody that they lived, I think, for maybe a year in a house in the village. And they said there was something in there, and it was not a good one. It was nothing positive. It was actually very scary for them.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What was their resolution to that?
Well, they ended up they were renting because they had just moved here, and they were, instead of like buying immediately. They wanted to get a feel for the area. So they rented and then they purchased a house. So that was their way of getting out. But they said, yeah, it was not a positive energy that was in that house. Oh, there was something else I was going to ask you. So I know that you said that your kids, like they know it's there. Are your kids like really sensitive to energy, or is it just that they're aware of what you're aware of?
I would imagine, because my oldest has shared some of these experiences the most, I would imagine she is sensitive like me as well. I don't know if my youngest has heard things. And I think, just being younger, she might get scared more than she would come to me and just explain what she observed. But again, yeah, I remind them that it's someone that's, that's happy that we're here and it's just checking in. So that they never think that it's something that is out of control or like here to harm them. Like they don't need to think that way.
Yeah.
So do you have activity very often in the house? Like how often would you say that something might occur?
Once a week.
Okay. Yeah, that's frequent.
Once a week. My dog is talking to me right now. Come over here, go lay down. But yeah, I mean, and it's the footsteps ever so often, and yeah.
So where won't the dog go? You had mentioned
the basement, and then we have a widow's watch, and he will not
see. My house used to have a widow's watch that I grew up in too.
Yeah. And it's the cutest space, and you can see from miles and miles. You can see all the way to Victory. You can see all the way to downtown. Wow. Like it's such a great space. But there's like an attic vent that's there, and I can't even look at it. So
that must be a portal right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Our house had a widow's watch. So the house I grew up in, I'm from Oswego, and I literally in the most literal sense grew up right around the corner from Lake Ontario. So like there was like a home arena and everything. So the women used to go up there to watch their husbands come in from, whether war, sailing, whatever. Yeah. And you're right. Like I have not been up there, but I think my dad went up there many years ago and said like, you can literally see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
Gotta go there.
It's very uncomfortable. I don't know. Do you guys feel like my experience is it's like a chest tightening? Like when I feel an energy like that, like I feel like it's about to reach out to me, like not physically necessarily, but just make contact. Like it's like a tightening in my chest. And I need to move, like just move out of the space.
Yeah. People will say this, or they'll also say like in their gut, like right in their center and their core. Yeah. So it's interesting that you would pick it up physically like that.
That's what I get it right in my core. I feel physically sick. I feel, I almost get a sense of dread. And like there's something almost like something's watching me, and it's like right there. And I've had a few situations throughout the years where you just have this horrible feeling when you're in this space, and it's like like you can't stay in there. So I know the feeling.
So have you saged the widows, the widow's watch area?
Maybe I didn't go up there. I think when I did it, I did all of our bedrooms, the bathrooms, and then I worked my way downstairs. But I wasn't asking anything to leave. It was just more like blessing this house. Thank you for being here. And just like spreading the goodness around to start fresh when we moved in.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. Like clearing energy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it
good.
is. Yeah. So so I know like when we do when I do energy work, I know Colleen is able to you know, when you work with people, you work with energy, sometimes you can get messages and things like that. I know you don't work with energy, but you seem to understand how things work. Do you ever get like any messages through dreams or anything, or
Oh,
like like do you get so do you get messages like from the person that lived that you do? Okay.
no,
Oh,
oh,
that,
not from, no, I haven't met anyone in my dream that would relate to Anne.
oh, okay.
But,
Okay.
but definitely from relatives and definitely from strangers telling me things.
Wow.
And,
You're very open.
I'm very open. I will share one of them that recently, well, in the past few years. So I lost my aunt, and she's come to me the most. And
Mhm.
she said to me, she died of cancer, and she was in my dream. We were in some living room, and I, asked her how she's doing and told her how much I missed her. And she said in a classic reply, "It sucks. It really sucks, but I'm okay." And
Hmm.
we talked about something else, and then she said, "Ask your Uncle Alex about," and I heard Esmerald. I heard Esmerald, and I said, I can't understand," and she said Esmerald, and then the dream ended. And so the next day I texted my uncle and I said, you know, "Aunt Bonnie, she mentioned something to ask you about the Esmerald." And he said, "The emeralds?" I
Hmm.
said, "What?" Oh, I had no idea. He said, "Oh, the emerald earrings? Yeah, I'm saving them for you."
Oh
Oh,
Like,
my gosh. Oh, I just got to chill.
yeah.
no idea. No idea that these
Oh,
existed. And he knew exactly what I was referring to. So yeah, stuff like that. Like I believe they're real messages, and um some are good, some are bad. And yeah. I'm
that's
So
part
have you ever
of
received
it.
a bad message, like something that kind of made you go like, "Oh my God, like what is this all about?"
Yeah, my father died in a plane crash.
oh,
Um, about 3 months before he died in a plane crash, I had a dream that he died in a plane crash. And in the plane crash was this blonde girlfriend. And I didn't have any inkling that he had a blonde girlfriend. And when he died, I was put in touch with his girlfriend, and she was blonde. And
wow.
uh, I told my husband at the time of the dream. Um, he believed me before because there were other, minor things that would happen that way, but
Mhm.
that is still like floors me that I had that. No
Wow.
reason to think either of those things would happen, but
Yeah. And that was
Yeah.
about 3 months before. Wow. Yeah, you are so tapped in. You are really
Wow.
tapped in. They trust you. And that's the thing too about it, is that when you were getting Esmerald or whatever, and they don't speak English. There's no, they don't speak in a way with some of the words that they use. If you get messages, sometimes it'll be very clear, and then there'll be this one word. That's what I've noticed, that
Mhm.
you can't quite figure out, like you were trying to figure out,
yeah.
you know. Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. I mean, there might be a reason. I don't know. That happens to me sometimes too. I'll get like a complete phrase for someone in a session, or then I'll get this word that it's like garbled. I can't.
Ah,
Yeah,
wow.
interesting.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know
Okay.
why it's like that, but yeah, so you're definitely open to, we have no idea.
Well, and I didn't want to like give you high hopes or anything. I didn't want to oversell what I had to share, but I'm happy to discuss it because I don't think, I feel like the reason that the three of us are talking today is because someone on Facebook on the moms group was having real trouble. And I think that a lot of people.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes.
And then I I was like, and I was laughing because, and I think I told you this, Colleen. I said, oh my God, I said, somebody's like really having trouble with spirits in their house. I said, in fact, the person posted for their friend who was having the trouble.
Yes.
And they said, I totally understand if nobody responds to this because of the nature of the post. There was like 60 responses. And I burst out laughing. I'm like, this is stuff everybody loves. Are you kidding me?
Right. But I think also like people who aren't open and who haven't had many experiences or positive experiences, they don't know what to do with this information because they don't want to sound like a weirdo, right? So I think it's very helpful that you guys are reaching out and that you're, having these really like thoughtful discussions about just people's experiences, because it's another scientific dimension, right?
It is, yes.
We haven't figured out, how to really understand it or study it.
That's
right.
And people want to shut it down and debunk it and, oh, you're crazy. Well, no, we're not.
No, we're multidimensional and we're in touch.
Yes. And this forum is for that, in many different ways, for, those conversations to happen and allow people. I know not everybody feels really comfortable about going on a podcast and talking about it, but, there's a lot of deeply spiritual things that happen for so many people, and they walk around their whole entire life and they never speak about it.
Right.
Yeah. Right. No, it's very, very true. In fact, for anyone who is listening to this podcast or connecting with it, if you have something that you want to talk about with us, just send us a message. You can either leave something in the comments. You know what? We'll put like an email address because, we think of the things to talk about, but, you can think of things too. And we would love to, we always entertain the idea of, having people on and talking about this stuff, because I think it's important. I think more and more people are seeing it and feeling things. So I think it is important to talk about it. And when you've had experiences, I think it's nice to be able to share it and let others know that, what, I might have experienced the same thing as you. I mean, I texted Colleen today and I'm like, oh my God, I've been having the weirdest dreams lately. Like I literally woke up this morning to hearing a man's voice calling my name, and it wasn't my husband. It was just, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? And there were some other things and I'm just like, wow. Okay. So someone's trying to communicate.
Yeah. And the veil is getting thinner, and what that means, I couldn't even begin to tell you, but I do know that it's sort of ramping up a little bit more. I mean, I think people have always been walking around having these experiences and connections, but there's something changing. There's been some kind of a shift, spiritual shift. I mean, I think it's like ramping up. It's like people are just sort of like becoming in touch with it. They want to understand it. They want to understand their own spiritual self, their own spiritual connections. I mean, we have a whole building filled with energy healers. When would that ever happen? At least in Pittsburgh. I mean,
true.
Maybe Sedona, or someplace, right? Or
and I was just in Sedona and I didn't feel a thing. And I was very let down because everyone said, you're going to feel something. And I don't know. I tried, maybe it was because I was trying, but maybe that vortex that goes in waves, I don't know. And maybe I just didn't hit it at the right time.
I had the same thing, Stacey.
Okay, I feel better.
In 1999, I went to Sedona and everybody was like, oh, Sedona, Sedona, Sedona.
Yeah.
And I was walking around, I mean, it's beautiful, like all these, and nothing. And I wouldn't even tell anybody because I was like, this is like the spiritual mecca.
You don't want to be the odd man out.
And then I heard Santa Fe, Santa Fe, Santa Fe. And I went to Santa Fe in February and I was like, no, nothing. I'm not kidding. I mean, in other places that I was in Arizona, I felt a connection. In other places that I was in New Mexico. So I was like, I was the same. I was like, oh my gosh, what? Maybe because it was so hyped up. I don't know. But things do go in waves.
Right.
So maybe we were in the wave. I don't know.
And I mean, I just think everybody's experiences just aren't the same. There might be some things that your energy is more sensitive to that is not in Arizona.
That's
right.
A lot of that, like, I think that the Sedona experience, like a lot of that is very connected. Like when there's some people that are just super connected with like the Native American stuff. And if you're not if you don't have a natural connection to that, you might not feel it in Sedona, whereas somebody who does might feel that a little bit more. But I think sometimes our energies attract different things and make us feel different things. That's just my
that's totally fair.
But it's my idea. So a
word kept coming in, and I don't even know if it applies to you, Stacey, but or maybe it's Anne. I don't know, but it was gentry.
Wow. No. With gentry. What is it?
I don't know what it means. Gentry.
I've heard it.
I've heard the word.
Yeah, I think it's like I'm gonna look it up. I think it's like sort of an word that would mean like people, or maybe men, or I don't know. Let me look it up before I totally make a fool of myself here.
Yeah, I've heard it used, but I'm not able to picture what it was describing. Right, it's like a group of people.
Yeah, people of good social position, specifically in the UK, a class of people next below the nobility in position and birth. It's the upper classes is what they consider it.
Which could make sense for your house.
Yes.
Agree?
Oh, yes. Was it a farm? It's a farm. It was like a
it was a pastor's house. It was a
pastor's house. That's right.
Right. It was used as a dairy farm, but that was after they owned it.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Gentry. Huh.
Gentry. Yeah. And then it's saying, let's see what else I just closed out of it. Ruling class, aristocracy, nobility. I don't know. Polo. Yeah.
Polo. Interesting.
Yeah. Like upper class, they would, polo and, I don't know. It just kept coming through and I was like, is that for her? Is that just something I'm hearing? But no, it applies to you for some reason and your house. So maybe it had to do with the pastor, and he actually built the house. He had the house built.
Yes, he had the house built. Yeah.
Okay.
So does your husband, does he feel this stuff? I know probably everybody does, but I always find it interesting, like the male reaction and perspectives versus like a female perspective and reaction.
So my ex-husband was not nearly as in touch, but believed me. I think because I had the empathy for the relationship between the two of us, I had the empathy that when I would share things with him, I always felt like he believed me. So, but I don't think he had those types of experiences himself.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice though, that he at least supported and believed,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still a connection to it, even though he wasn't experiencing it. Like not all
Right.
your kids do, right? Not all your kids experience it.
Not necessarily. Well, no, they do experience
Oh, they do.
hearing the sounds from upstairs when they're downstairs. But yeah, I think the younger two, I think they're just younger right now. So we'll see if that develops over time.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool.
I think with a mama, with a woo-woo mama, it kind of is a default. I think it just will happen for them.
Yeah, it's passed down for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This is amazing though. This is wonderful. I love when people are open, you know, to it, not just open like you are sensitive to it, but just open to the experience and then the conversation, and feel free to talk about it and share it. And yeah, thank you. Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh,
And
my
if there's
pleasure.
anyone else out there that lives here in Pittsford that's listening to this and you
Right.
are having some sort of an experience like this, let us know. And if you want to come on here, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So before we go, Stacey, is there anything you want to share? Anything that sort of stands out? Anything else you want to add?
No, I went through just some of my bigger, more like sensitive experiences. I so appreciate you guys being interested and just again wanting to get the word out and making it, a fun conversation to talk about.
Yeah.
It's really appreciated.
And thank you for responding back to me to make this happen tonight. So
Yes.
we appreciate it that you're taking the time to do that.
It was really wonderful having you on. Thank you, Stacey. We hope to talk to you again.
Yes. I can't wait to see you again.